Nurture and support begins in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to episode 13 of Nurture and Support. I am Mel at Karmic9 on Twitter, and we have a special episode for y'all today. We have a special guest with us. But as always, we have Kelly with us at Kelly Tool. Do you want to spell it for everyone, Kelly?
I really do. Hi, everybody.
Okay.
This is Kelly Tool at KELLYTHUL on Twitter. Thank you, Mel.
You're welcome. And our extra special guest is our good friend Jeans from bringoutyourgeek.com. You want to tell us a little bit about your site and what it's about, Jeans?
Sure. My Twitter, I will spell out my Twitter as well. YEUNGJEANS. Bring Out Your Geek is a web show website with blogs about comics and all sorts of geekery. And I also have a couple of shops, one of which is soap and like spa stuff, and the other one is mostly geekery because I'm a nerd. And there are links to both of those on bringoutyourgeek.com. And I do a show with sometimes Mel here, and but mostly with Bronwyn. And she's on bringoutyourgeek.com as well.
Yes.
And never ever with me.
Well, you know, we might work on that someday. I don't know, but yes.
We'll get it figured out.
The enthusiasm is palpable.
Yes. No. I want to put in a recommendation, since this is a recommendation show, for everyone to check out Jean's Etsy shops. Her soap is excellent. And she even has, I like your Studio Jeans stuff too, your literary quotes on the little canvases. I love
thank
those.
you so much. Thank you.
So we will have some links up on the blog post, so y'all can check out all of Jean's stuff. And
Yay.
I guess with that being said, we will jump right into recommendations. I've got something pretty simple and different for me this week. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably know I have a slight caffeine addiction. I do like my coffee. Yeah, I do like my coffee. So I have actually been a Keurig user for quite a while. It's not the bestest coffee in the world, but it is single serve and it is easy. But I have, after having gone through my third Keurig, I'm tired of, yes, the pumps always give out. I'm tired of buying Keurig machines. And so I started looking into alternatives. And I don't consider myself to be a coffee snob in any way, shape, or form. I just don't move very well unless I'm highly caffeinated. So I found a new single-serve type coffee gadget. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a machine. It's called the Aeropress. And it basically is two plastic tubes, one of which is like a plunger that fit inside each other, and you put your coffee inside it. You pour boiling water inside it. You stir it a little bit. Wait a minute or two. You flip it over, and you press the coffee through a paper filter, and voila, you have excellent coffee that isn't bitter. It's also supposed to lower the acidity from the immersion brewing, which is definitely good if you drink as much coffee as I do. But you also, to me, like I said, I'm not a coffee snob, but I do notice better flavor from even just the regular coffee that I buy. So, and a big point for me is, unlike my Keurig, I don't ever get grounds in the coffee cup. And that's a big problem for me because that will totally ruin any cup of coffee. But
I don't like that either.
It just brings you down.
Yeah.
So let me see. You don't get any grit. It comes with a little starter set of the paper filters, but you can buy a permanent filter. But I do worry about there being more grounds that might get into it through the metal filter. So I've stuck with the paper right now. But you can, there are two brew styles. The ones that come with the instructions is an espresso type. It's not real espresso because you can't come close to the real pressure that an espresso machine will put on the coffee to press the flavor out of it. But you are applying a small amount of pressure on this, and it does really seem to help. and it only takes a few minutes. All you have to do is boil water. So since I am also a big tea drinker, and I would say I am probably something of a tea snob, but I'm not a coffee snob, I already have a nice electric kettle. So all you have to do is boil water. So this is perfect when the zombie apocalypse finally comes. I just have to stockpile coffee, and I can make coffee in my Aeropress until we run out of coffee, which probably the way I drink it won't take.
So you run out of
very long.
filters.
True, but I imagine I could come up with something. That's why I'm really thinking I need to get that metal filter just as a backup, just in case there's some sort of apocalypse and I can't order the little paper filters anymore. But one of the neat things about the Aeropress is that it is made by a company called Aerobie, which is known for making frisbees. It's a plastics that it's a company that designs aerodynamic toys, basically. They're well known for having like the longest flying disc ever. So they make all of their stuff out of plastics, and it's a plastics company, and they designed a very good coffee maker.
That I assume is aerodynamic as well.
I
In case you want to throw it.
I could throw it, but I'm not sure.
The furthest across the room, her Keurig only went so far. This is a lot much further.
Yes. Yeah, I could definitely throw it, and it could probably hurt somebody, but it's very sturdy. And I've been using it for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and no signs that the rubber on the plunger part is deteriorating or anything like that. It works perfectly every single time. And I think you could probably even make tea in it because it would filter out the tea leaves as you pressed it down too, but it's simple to clean. You just pop the filter end off, put it over the trash, and depress the plunger all the way, and it pops out a little dried up coffee puck because you've pressed all the water out of it.
That's
so
a great
it's
band name.
Coffee puck.
Dried up coffee puck.
Dried up coffee puck. That's kind of the story of my life. But they even have World Aeropress Championships where they have competitions as to who brews the best cup of coffee out of an Aeropress. So I find that interesting, but that's a little too involved for me. So all you have to do, you can use drip coffee, though it does recommend a slightly finer blend than drip coffee, but I have used it and still gotten good results out of it, and I recommend it. I think everybody should get it, just in case the zombie apocalypse comes around, because to run away from the zombies, you need to have some caffeine. And it only costs, this is the big part, after all of the hundreds of dollars I've spent on Keurig machines over the last few years, this thing only runs $25 to $30.
That's good.
So it's great.
Is that online only or available at your local convenience store?
It's not going to be at your local convenience store, but it might very well be at some place like Bed Bath & Beyond or one of those type places. But there are several, all of the Primo Coffee places online sell it, so possibly some of your local coffee shops might sell it, but it is a little bit. I've seen
that somewhere. Yeah, I want to say that it sounds familiar.
Yeah, and it looks totally bizarre. I mean, it looks like something that's gonna either break or is just a gimmick, but it works and it works good. So I recommend it. I'm very happy with it. It's probably one of my best purchases lately.
You know, I moved away from mechanical coffee as well. I have a French press, and I'm very interested in getting one of those Le Creuset French presses.
Yes.
But I got for Christmas, it looks like a coffee mug with like a saucer attached, and there's actually a hole at the bottom, and a filter sits in it. You put your coffee in it, and then you just rest that on top of your coffee mug, pour the water through, and that's it. It's like a one-time deal, and I love it.
Yeah,
I'm happy moving away from big machines.
Yeah, I saw that one, and I was tempted to almost get one like that, and I had so many people recommend the Aeropress that I went ahead and it's $25.
Yeah, I've been trying this new one. It requires some mechanics because there's a car, but it's called the McDonald's. And what you can do there is
it's called the drive-thru.
You can go through and then you speak. It's really cool because all you got to do is say what you want. I would like a large coffee or a small coffee, and then you just move for a little bit further, and you've got to roll your window down, and they actually give it to you. So that's another good way to get coffee you might want to think about. Just a
Yeah.
thought.
Sweet.
This is cheaper though.
Yeah.
And especially with gas prices. So, and zombie apocalypse, McDonald's are probably not open.
No,
Yeah,
they're
I know,
gonna close.
I really like chicory, so I started adding.
Oh.
Wow. Adding chicory to my coffee. So
Oh.
I don't know that I could go back to regular coffee and like be happy with it. I really like that chicory flavor in there. So.
Oh. See, I hate chicory.
You
I
don't
can
like
get
New
used to
Orleans
it.
coffee?
No. I
love
worked
it.
with someone who brought in their New Orleans style coffee, and we had to get a second coffee pot because I wasn't doing that. I couldn't do it. I can get used to it because I have periodically. When I kicked my caffeine habit several years ago before y'all ever met me, I went on one of those alternative herbal type coffees that doesn't have any caffeine and they're loaded with chicory, and
Yeah.
I eventually found one that was tolerable, but yeah, I fell off the wagon hard and I've never looked back.
Into
That
a
wagon's
coffee
gone.
pot. Fell off
right.
the wagon into a coffee pot.
That wagon's gone, baby. It burned.
Yeah, Jeans, you may want to consider changing your Twitter bio to "I really like chicory" because I think that just that rings really well. It's got a nice vibe to it.
So I have no idea what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Wee.
None of us know what we're doing here. We just show up. So that's all I have, the Aeropress. It's a wonderful coffee maker that will survive the zombie apocalypse with you, and it's highly portable because the tubes fit inside each other, so it's like easy. You could throw it in your bug out bag and take off.
Excellent.
So that's all I got.
Cool. And I think we're going to be smart and go with Jeans next and kind of save
I don't know.
the lamest for last.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. So my recommendation is just sort of odd because I'm gonna recommend Ancient Aliens, the TV show, which is really bizarre on a couple of different levels. I started watching Ancient Aliens like a couple of years ago, and they changed the original format of the show. It started out sort of as a one-off kind of deal, and now it's little more sort of from the opinions of the ancient alien theorists, which there are.
I thought you were going to say experts.
Choose your words carefully.
Yes.
Those who majored in ancient alien studies.
They're led by this guy Giorgio Tsoukalos, who has like the most fantastic hair to watch on television ever. It is totally outrageous, and if you don't know who he is, you have to. Giorgio, I think you can probably spell that pretty easily. The last name is Tsoukalos, and you have to look him up because his hair is outstanding. And Google will bring up a nice little Wikipedia. You don't even have to open anything. It just in the regular Google search, it'll bring him up, and he looks kind of like a stylized troll doll. Because his hair just stands on end all the time. It is awesome. And he's usually really tan, sometimes a little orange. And he's very, very passionate about basically everything ancient is in relation to aliens. Everything was built by aliens. Like, we are not responsible for anything. Like, and I kind of don't like. It's sort of an odd recommendation because I watch it purely for amusement. Like, I think that we're probably not alone. I think it's a little arrogant to believe the entire universe is made just for us. But I don't know that I agree with the fact that we don't know how to build pyramids. I mean, if my 3-year-old nephew can build them out of wood blocks, I'm thinking we can probably figure something out as adults,
I don't know. I know a lot of toddlers that are way smarter than people. Than adults, I should say.
I was going to say toddlers are not people.
No, not really.
There's another
Mommy
good Twitter bio.
So he like the Nazca Peru lines and pretty much every type of pyramid, Easter Island, all that stuff. Like, we apparently were just dumb as a box of rocks and not able to do anything on our own, and so it's a little insulting. At the same time, it's kind of fun. I'm one of those people where I really believe that we were, we were just as smart then as we are now, thousands of years ago. It's just that our knowledge base has changed. We weren't stupid. We had the same size brains. We weren't stupid. We just had a different body of knowledge. And so, to me, I kind of watch it and giggle a little, because I don't know that I can say that we were, not capable of doing some of these things. There's just because we don't know how to do it now doesn't mean that we never did. It's just, but it's funny. They use kind of the same body of evidence to support every theory.
And you say that in the loosest body of evidence with quotes and italics.
With bunny ears. I'm quoting. I'm using air quotes. The Nazca Peru lines and the head binding, and it's like the same things come in every episode to support everything about the ancient aliens theorists. And it's fun to watch. It's certainly interesting. You have to keep an open mind. If you're not in the right mood, though, it can really tick you off. So
yeah, I can imagine.
It's an odd recommendation.
So is it what channel is it on?
Oh, sweet Lord. I want to say it's still like history or something.
Okay.
Let me look it up.
Which seems wrong.
Which does, doesn't it? I know.
Well, it's probably got back seasons on Netflix too. I think I've seen.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I haven't history. It is on History Channel.
Okay. I haven't seen any of them.
I always feel like History Channel, like sometimes, I don't know, because to me, Ancient Aliens is not necessarily, it's a little bit like cryptozoology, and it's not, there's no real proof. There's some anecdotal things you could probably put together, and is that really a space mask with breathing apparatus, or is it just a very bizarre headdress? It's difficult to say because it's ancient art. It's sort of one of those things. And so, with cryptozoology, I sort of feel like there's anecdotal things as well, but we never really get our hands on proof. So it's the same sort of thing. And I feel like for the History Channel, it's kind of a stretch, because History Channel, I feel like, should only be really, it shouldn't be so much theory as actual history, but I guess they're sort of being open-minded, which is, not a bad thing.
Well, all of those channels are kind of branching out into the odd things. Our last Shark Week was rather bizarre on Animal Planet. That wasn't really involving a lot of real facts about sharks anymore.
No.
So
Sharknado.
I would not be surprised if the next Shark Week is just nonstop Sharknado.
Which natural disasters could be caused by sharks?
Right.
So they'll be doing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, I have caught. I'll have to. That's a great recommendation, Geeks. I have caught bits and pieces, and it just the one part that I do struggle a little bit with is that it always comes back to Ancient Aliens. It's like, and what about this and that? Aliens. It was just
aliens. And Giorgio is really good with he's always like, he's got the hand gestures, and you're not gonna be able to see this on the podcast, but he always like puts his hands up. He's always like, aliens, every time. There's like a meme about it. It's hilarious because, and you have to. The hair is outstanding, and you cannot take your eyes off of it. Like the whole time he's on camera, you could care less what's coming out of his mouth. You're just watching his hair. It's fantastic.
When you say that, I just keep envisioning that commercial that's on right now where that guy's hair crawls off his head and crawls across the desk to get that woman's phone number. That's what I'm imagining.
I think Giorgio's hair could do that and be impressive at a bar.
Impressive.
I do.
Okay.
Excellent.
Awesome.
All right.
We might have to put a link to a picture of
I think
hair on the blog post.
Yeah, so because I got taught by some blog expert at some point in time that it's really important to put photos in blog posts, and so
you label an expert.
I have learned from the master, so that seems like a very good photo for us to include somewhere. A little bit of maybe several, who knows? And a link to cryptozoology, so those are listening like me that say I need to know a little bit more about exactly what Gene's is talking about there. Not an area of expertise for me, so I need another thing to learn a little more about. So good stuff. All right, well I'll wrap it up from the recommendation side. With a book. I know that seems a little shocking, but It's a book of pictures. So again, this is typically the books that I recommend. The book is called Life in 5 Seconds, and I am going to, these names will be on the blog post, but I will totally butcher them now. It's by Matteo Schiaveschi and Gianmarco Melizzi. And it is a whole series of pictograms that summarize a bunch of things just on one page. So it's Life in 5 Seconds, basically turning iconography, stories into iconography. So you will get Pulp Fiction described in one page with diagrams. You'll get Lord of the Rings described in a pictogram, which is basically a ring, an arrow, and a volcano, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Avatar, the Matrix, the whole history of Darth Vader. And so you'll get all sorts of things. History of Jesus, E.T., and the history of Michael Jackson, which is kind of a interesting one. History of Marie Antoinette.
So there are changes in facial structure in that one, or?
So it's for, so if you think about the men's room, women's room, genericized silhouette.
Oh dear.
It's 4 of those, and decreasing, getting lighter and lighter as you cut across on it. And then the whitest one is the first 3 are horizontal, and the last one's first 3 are vertical, and the last one's horizontal.
Poor Mikey.
So, but it pretty much captures it. The Marie Antoinette one's pretty fun because it's got a little bit of the let them eat cake and then the no head stuff, and it's pretty cool. Yeah. But just tons of good stuff. And so if you wanted to kind of bluff your way through some classics, most of the major classics are in there in terms of books, so you'll get it all in one page, and you go, oh yeah, that's the story where these types of things happen here. We'll include a couple links because they have several of them out there. As well, but it is just and so just what you can find online is pretty cool. But I'd recommend getting the book. It's on Amazon. It's really, even from like a hardcover perspective, it's $12. It's not a big deal, and you can get your Kindle and other versions as well. But it is there are just some hilarious ones through there. And I always kind of like that oversimplification of a storyline there. So this is actually, I think, the second. They've done a couple of them. So this one looks really, really strong. And so if you get a chance to do that, that is a really fun book. And we'll include the link to Amazon and all that. So
cool. Yeah, sometimes when you simplify things down into just one little picture like that, it shows you what the story was really about, and you kind of got sidetracked by some of the other characters.
Pesky details.
Yeah, they get in the way.
Yep, and
Devil's in the details.
Yeah, and we'll come up with. I may have a follow-up recommendation at some time on a vintage info. There's some books on vintage infograms, infographics rather, that are pretty cool too. But this one's really cool. Get the link, and actually, if you just do a search on Life in 5 Seconds, you'll have several. You'll have a little bit of time to enjoy yourself there, because just go to the image side of the Google search, and you're going to find most of them. And they're, like I said, they're clever, they're fun, and then you can you don't have to read Great Expectations. You can you can speak to it. Yeah, that's where that.
Sure, you don't have to be literate.
Yeah,
it's like Cliff Notes for the incredibly lazy. It's like I don't have time to read a whole Cliff Note book. Come on, give it to me in a page. So
hell, I need it on a lot of the movies that are out these days. I haven't seen hardly any of the movies that.
I'd like one for Helix, because I could use some help on Helix right now.
I love Helix.
It's very good.
It's awesome.
Well, and what I'm really fired up about is that their whole, the writers and the performers on Helix seem to be very social media friendly. And during the actual broadcast, they're there, very active, very engaged, and in good, and in pretty good spirits in terms of, if you're kind of picking on something a little bit, they don't get all uppity on you. They take it in the way it's intended, so it's fun. But I think there's at least, they may have to do 2 pages of infographics for Helix, because it's hard. It's good though.
Yeah, the monkeys are going to take a whole page. They got to explain the monkeys.
Frozen Monkey Parade. That'll be awesome.
Yeah. Now I really don't want to watch it. Okay.
No, you gotta watch. Gene, you're gonna like it.
Yeah, so there's our secondary recommendation this episode is that Kelly and I really want all of you to go out and watch Helix because we love it and you need to watch it.
Absolutely. Genes.
I'm not ruling it out. I'm just not a big disease. But like one of the reasons I can handle the whole like the Walking Dead thing is they don't really get into like the nuts and bolts of the disease. It's just sort of like people die and then they come, and there's not a whole lot of digging into. I'm not a big, like Contagion and all that. Like
I made the mistake of telling her about the black goo kissing.
Okay.
And that may have been a problem.
Yeah. Another great band name, but the
Black Goo Kissing. Yeah.
So you're okay with crowbars through the head, but when it comes to explaining how the diseise came about, ooh, icky? Is that your point?
That whole like
that makes perfect sense.
I'm not into. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like when they start talking about flus and people dying from the flu that has the same genetic code, and I just shut down. Not my thing.
It's got some toe tapping tunes in it though.
It does. It does, and when I usually have the closed captioning on, and when the music plays, it pops up happy instrumental music.
You know who else has got good tunes is The Blacklist. Surprisingly,
I have not watched that.
I dig it a lot.
Yeah, a lot. It looks good. There's just too much TV on.
Well, you let us know when you watch an episode of Helix, and maybe Mel and I will look at the Blacklist.
Right.
Maybe.
Deal.
Okay.
All right.
So do we want to move on to Twitter recommendations?
Yes, we do.
All right.
I think I should go first because I got an awesome one.
All right, you go.
Crazy awesome. So it is called Abandoned Places at Abandoned Places, and it is photos of abandoned places. So it's
cool.
Simple, straightforward.
Simple, straightforward. It is what it says it is. I don't know why I like photos of abandoned places as much as I do. I think I've got this theory that I could convert them into a home, and it's like, yes, that's the one. If I can buy that. That'd be the most awesome house in the world. And I think that's the subtext that's going on as I look at them. So it's really kind of a real estate site for me, but it is there's just some amazing photos that they come up with. There was way back in the day in New York, as the subway system was being built, an alternative was being considered that was pneumatic based to have the vehicles driven through pneumatic power versus electricity or whatever else. And so they actually built a really ornate initial station and had done the first track kind of out in parallel to some of the subway stuff. And then it kind of washed out. And they basically just sealed the thing up and moved on. And so Abandoned Places is where I started to see some photos of that, and then went back in and dug into the history of it a lot. But there's a lot of abandoned places, and they're not all in Detroit, but there's a lot of them in Detroit. but they're from all over the world. So some stunning images, definitely a nice little timeline addition. So I highly recommend Abandoned Places for Twitter.
I used to work with a guy that did that, and he went into some old abandoned building to take photographs and fell through a hole in the floor and broke his arm.
Oh, no.
Way to bring down my recommendation. Jeez.
So it's sort of like, beauty at expense, because those places are not safe to go into sometimes, and I know some of those guys really sneak around and take some risks to do those photos. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've already followed abandoned places, and of course the ones that I like the most are the ones of the buildings that have been reclaimed by nature.
Oh yeah.
I'm one of those of she's gonna take it all back one of these days. That when the apocalypse comes.
There you go.
So
Mel's sitting there drinking her coffee on the bench, saying, "I told
that's
you."
Right. As long as I can boil water, I'm set. So, Jeans, do you want to go next?
Sure. My recommendation is the Orlando Jones. That guy lives on Twitter, and I love it. I like him anyway. Mel and I watched Evolution and did a simul tweet at one point, just for the hell of it. We were cracking ourselves up watching that. And he's on Sleepy Hollow, so he tweets a lot during Sleepy Hollow, which I like. It's the same sort of thing that you were talking about, Cal, where they're really interactive. Tom Misen, not so much. I would like him to engage a little more, but he's really not into Twitter for that at all. But Orlando tweets jokes all the time and photographs. He's very busy on Twitter. So if you do put him in there, just be aware he's going to fill up your timeline with a whole lot of awesome, but he's a busy man. Yeah.
Yes. And he is very good with the fans of Sleepy Hollow who send him all kinds of stuff, and he retweets them, and he picks out the ones that he likes. So he's great. He's one of those people I've said who really does Twitter right.
Yes, so I agree.
I second that again. I love Orlando Jones. So I guess that leaves me. My Twitter recommendation this week is @SarcasticRover. And this is a parody account for the Mars Curiosity rover.
I thought it was a dog account. Oh.
She's already kind of sarcastic, though, isn't she? She's already kind of snarky.
She is. This account is actually run by @Jason Filiatralt, but it says it in the little Twitter bio for @SarcasticRover. He won an award for this account last year. But I have to say, she tweets all sorts of interesting things, not just about the rover, but she's a sarcastic little rover. And I have to say, she's getting my recommendation today because this morning she tweeted out a picture of Neil deGrasse Tyson flipping the bird at somebody. And excellent. I just, that was it. I was like, well, there it is. There's our recommendation. So follow Sarcastic Rover because she tweets pictures of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So exactly where is she roving to be able to get these photos?
The internet.
Yes.
She's roving the internet.
She has a connection to the internet. Just because she's on Mars doesn't mean that she's not, in. She's got more bandwidth than you do, Kelly.
Yeah, I was going to say the data plan for that's got to be hell.
Well, that's money well spent. Money well spent.
Yeah.
Give NASA all the money.
Absolutely.
So, there's my Twitter recommendation this week. Follow @SarcasticRover because she's funny.
I will do that.
Well, Jeans, thanks very much for joining us. You are our first guest recommender, and I think that's. I think Mel and I have learned that's a good thing to bring in some fresh insight, some fresh recommendation, plus less work for us, which is awesome.
Yes.
I'm glad I could ease the burden. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Because
preparation is not our strong suit.
Not our thing. Not so much. So, so really, thank you again very much. For those of you, I'm sorry, Jeans.
I said thank you.
Okay, cool. So for those of you we certainly would welcome joining us on the show, but that's not the only way that your recommendations can make it to Nurture and Support. You can tweet your recommendations to Nert and Sup on Twitter. You can post them in comments. You can send us an email at nertandsup@gmail.com. You can hit Mel and I up on Twitter directly. We'd love to hear your recommendations as well and share them with our listeners. If you are listening and you like the show, we will beg and plead for you to go to iTunes and write a glowing review so that we can beat those damn knitters who are destroying us in the hobby podcast section of iTunes.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, we're not making any ground on them yet, knitters. So we got the blog you can go to.
We include crocheters in there.
So I probably shouldn't be doing this while I'm talking, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks a lot, Jeans. Way to turn the knife.
Yes.
This is what I'd rather be doing and listening to than you guys.
Yes.
For those of you who can't see me, I am crocheting during the podcast.
Yes, she is. Because we all have to multitask. We're busy.
I can't focus on one thing anymore. I don't know how to do that. I'm broken.
Yeah. And the website is nurtureandsupport.net. .net. Wow. just wasn't coming.
We've laughed too much today. Leaking out
never
our ears.
too much. It's a good thing, man.
Yes.
So hit us up any of those ways. Anything else, Mel, before we call it a show?
I think that's it. We'll be back next week with episode 14 with more great recommendations. So thank you everyone for listening. to us today. And please leave a comment or review or, hit us up on Twitter. We'd appreciate it.
Nurturing and supporting Target.